Welcome to the Riders Lounge. Today I'm with this legend over here, Jess Kimura, industry shakeup artist, I would say. Jess has done so much for snowboarding over the last 12, 15 years. Really excited to have you on today. The Equalizer is why I've brought you here, but we're lucky to have you in the Kootenays anyway. You were just up at BALDFACE, so let's kind of start there. What were you doing at BALDFACE? I know Pat Moore's here. Revverie runs his little thing, so let's kind of start there and tell everybody what you were doing with Risk Maturity.
Yeah, I was up at BALDFACE for Risk Maturity. It was my first year doing it, and it was really cool. We started out with like a 3-day first aid course in town.
Oh, you guys, so you did your like occupational first aid?
Yeah, like we did some wildlife first aid.
Yeah, or wilderness first aid.
Wilderness.
Yeah, there we are.
Okay, so the next thing I was gonna say was, I was like, wow, I don't know what I'm doing at all and should never go outside again, but...
It does put a little bit of fear into you, doesn't it?
But it's good.
Yes.
It's good, but you're like, holy shit, I've been lucky. So after I learned my wilderness first aid, we went up to BALDFACE to do the kind of on-snow portion of it. So like rescue scenarios and snow science stuff, and yeah, it was really cool.
Because we've watched you evolve from urban riding, well really, you know, Vernon and Silver Star, but we'll talk about that. But as we go from kind of like urban riding, freestyle riding, to now, I mean, you're sledding, you're in the backcountry a lot, this is important stuff, and everything, you know, the guides learn and all of us, when it comes to any kind of scenario where there's a rescue involved or anything like that, I feel like Pat and Revverie have really put together something that's cohesive for everyone, and you do learn a lot in a short time.
Yeah, and I've taken other avalanche courses, but it just feels not like it doesn't apply a lot of the stuff, because they're talking about big touring objectives and stuff. They don't understand if we're like, so what if a landing slides are like a landing of what?
Yeah.
You know, so like the stuff that we're actually doing when we're out there filming, sled lapping, whatever, it's way more applicable, and I think it makes you soak more in because you relate to it.
Yeah.
And they know, you know that they know what you're up to out there, so.
Well, especially when you're out filming, things like that. And then what I find unique with this event is they bring in it's a group of people that's kind of industry elites, so to speak, but there's filmers, there's pro riders, there's aspiring guides, and then there's legendary guides. Sansalone was up there. I've watched Kev go from, you know, start to now a lead guide, which is really cool to see. But with that, do you find that that's kind of like a meeting of the minds where you can also chat with your other peers on what's going on with, say, filming or things like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I took my filmer up there too, so and we're always in the backcountry together, and so it was cool seeing that. But then also having like people like Sansalone, who we looked up to forever, or Pat, that you can just chat to casually, like while you're eating soup, you know, instead of like. Yeah, it's a really like, feels like safe as far as if you feel stupid, because I always do. Like there's no dumb questions. They said there's just questions asked at the wrong time.
Which is, that's fair.
Like when someone's obviously going to get to something, you know?
No, that's fair. And to be under, I trained under John Revverie, and I just feel honored that I was able to do that going way back. But to experience him too, I mean, that's like the Yoda of the mountains, I always say. John
is very Yoda-like.
He's incredible. John is...
He was rad. We were with his group for the snow science part, so it was really cool. He's really funny. And seeing how, like, how much he, like, wants to see the crystal, you know, like, and gets so fired up about it. Like, he's excited still, so it's cool to see that after this long, that he's still excited about that stuff. No,
it's rad, for sure. So I mentioned Silver Star. Jess and I grew up kind of same area. I'm obviously a bit older, but I was at Apex. She was in Vernon at Silver Star, which to me back in the day had the best corduroy. And I was racing. In the 90s, we had to race as well as do halfpipe. We were stuck in the BC. The way the BC series worked, you had to do both. So we would train at Silver Star nonstop. And I really learned to carve and really actually learned to free ride better at Silver Star even than Apex. But talk about, like, when did you first strap in? When was your first year snowboarding?
I think that was like 98 or 99. And I was doing the BCSA too,
Yep.
but we had to do border cross, slope style, and
Oh,
half pipe.
it evolved to,
Yeah.
because we were like slalom half pipe.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
was-
But I hated it at first. I mean, I feel like I've told this story so many times, but it was just what you do. It's like being living in a hockey town where you go skiing every weekend. So I was just skiing every weekend, but I didn't know like what it was. It was just a reason to go eat like fries with my friends and be away from our parents for a bit. But then all my friends started snowboarding. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are so slow. Like, I feel like I'm just standing here watching you. So, okay, I guess I'll get one. And I went to the ski swap. And I think for $70 I bought a board that I was like, I like the picture on this one. It was I think it was 156 or 58 Selaznik with the trucks on the bottom and bindings that didn't stay done up. So they would just pop out as I rode down. Point being, I really hated it at first. I couldn't turn. I thought I was so bad. I was the worst.
Well, the camber profile on those boards was like this tall. So you had like tip that would contact. They were impossible to turn.
Really?
Plus
Okay.
you're on a 56.
Yeah.
Oh no, those boards, I mean, Fawcett and I talk about this a lot. We became good riders, I think all of us, because we were started on that shit.
Yeah.
You know, it really did force you to learn how to power a turn with all of your body. And especially, you're shorter. You have less leverage to get that board over.
Yeah,
so,
I was like 13 years old too, so I wasn't
yeah,
even
they
5
are
feet
not
tall.
easy to ride, those things.
I wish I never sold it though. I
Yeah,
didn't know what it was.
That's a collector too, and Noah was such an amazing part of the snowboard community too. But so from there, you know, as you evolved through the BCSA, where did you constantly ride Silver Star? Did you finally get off to Whistler, or when did you evolve from there?
Well, I rode Silver Star, and then I would go to like Apex, Big White, whatever, do the
series.
The series, and then eventually I did move to Whistler, because that's where you move if you want to go pro.
Oh, yeah,
So
absolutely. Okay, so I really brought you on to talk about the Equalizer and to talk about gear. The Equalizer is one of our best-selling boards, has been for like 3 years running, Jess, for real. With that board, though, how did you get there? Like, how did we get to this beauty? Because you used to ride, what were you riding with Capita before this model?
I was kind of riding all their boards, but well, it depends like what I was doing.
'Cause I've seen you on a DOA.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair bit. I think that's
Yeah.
what I kind of read. You and Cocard, I always were like, oh yeah, they're the DOA team.
I rode on the Charlie Slosher a lot too when I was
Yeah.
riding Powder. I loved that board. But then, yeah, I mean, I guess I was riding like it's been so long since I've not been riding this
I
board. It's
know.
like 12 years.
I know.
So
I
I
had
was
to go
riding,
back
like-
and look at old videos
Yeah.
too, and I'm like, oh, there's Cocard too and Jess, but
I was riding a Birds, which is it was just like the DOA, and then, but I was riding in the streets too, so I was riding the Saturnia, which is a
oh wow.
old
Yeah,
one.
yeah. Well, this board, I think, it sells so well for us in the Kootenays too, and I'll kind of dive into a little, but we have camber, but then we do kind of flatten out here, and then it gets into what Capita calls wapow, which is my favorite, because when you get back on these boards, they settle in nice, and this tail allows for it to settle in nice. So you also have not a lot of setback, but a fair bit of setback on this model. And like I was telling you earlier too, I tried the 54, and it kind of had a Kazoo vibe to it, narrower, but it has that feel. When you went from sort of streets to then free riding, obviously that's why you designed this board, but what were things you were looking for in this snowboard that were different, say, from the DOA or the Birds?
Well, I wanted something that is a bit better for free riding. I wanted something that I could go, that wasn't completely like centered and twin. Something that I could go really fast on through really shitty snow and not be scared that I was gonna wheel out, kind of. The stance is set back, but I set my bindings back even more, even when I'm riding. Like,
So are you all the way back seat here?
not quite all the way, but if it's a pow day, then I'm all the way back.
Good, yeah.
And I still I ride Powder and backcountry stuff, but then like my other favorite thing to do is go do like quarter pipes or transition stuff or backyard sessions and just fuck around like on like little pipes and stuff jibbing. So I wanted something that I could still ride in the park that was really snappy. You know what this board reminded me of? Something I would have wanted to ride in the half pipe back in the day.
Yeah.
but that can also go fast all over the mountain. So.
Well, and I love that you decided to, more of a traditional, if not vintage nose shape, which I love, and then to taper down into that look. The tail on this thing is gorgeous. You guys really killed it. When you're designing, are you sitting down with Blue and you guys are talking through stuff, shapes, things like that, or how involved do you get? Like, I know you're involved with next year's graphics, which I'll ask you about, but how involved in like the shaping of the board do you get?
Well, Tommaso is like this engineering genius guy there, so I've been talking with him a lot, and we go through. I don't know. I didn't really know what I liked or why. I just knew what it was when it was under my feet. But now having a better understanding of what it does, and I think one thing with this board, it has a really long effective edge. And I used to ride boards like I'm this tall. But I used to ride a 54, like when I was racing border cross. I always wanted to ride a longer board, but this makes it so I can ride a shorter board that feels like has the stability of a longer board.
So do you grab this in the 50 or even shorter?
So I'll go 46 if I'm going like rail trip.
Cool, yeah.
I go 50 everywhere else on the hill, and then 50 also in like shallower powder in the backcountry.
Yeah.
And then 54 for everything else.
That's right.
All of them
That's
set
good
way
to
back.
know. No, that's good to know that you kind of ride all the sizes. We seem to sell the 50 the most because I think that that's the middle of the road. That's a board that someone's going to buy and do everything on, which is really cool. But the 54 sells. It really does. A lot of people will ask too your stance angles. What do you run in sort of front foot and back foot?
Back foot's like minus 12. Front foot is like 15 plus a click.
Yeah.
Is that 17?
18.
18, okay.
18.
I don't know what each click is, I just...
Yeah, I think that would consider,
Yeah.
be 18. And then how wide are you usually going?
19 and a half,
Yeah.
and then really far back. Even on my jib boards, like I feel so weird. I don't know, when I'm riding switch and I do something, I like the feeling of feeling like I'm going fakie on a skateboard, where you're all the way...
Where you know it, right?
Yeah, you're all the way at one
you're
end.
there.
So, yeah, I don't know, I just like set back
Mark,
boards.
myself, a lot of the team riders, Morrison in the back there, we all ride, everybody sets back a fair bit. We do, and it's kind of the area. We grew up in BC.
Yeah.
We're riding a lot of days. We're going to be riding powder no matter what. So for you guys in the Midwest and things like that, that's why we do it. We just want a longer nose, which helps us on the days that it is POW. You get in the back seat easier. You get the nose up easier. What POW, which they design into the Capita stuff, really helps too. This geometry, when it hits snow, just brings that nose up so easy. So these are really graceful. They ride well. I like watching you carve this board. Like I went back and watched even the Wasted Youth one. Yes. And you have this like dragon kick thing you do on your heel side turns. That was rad. And it is a really fun board for powder. It did remind me of the Kazoo too, for anybody that's kind of looking at this board too. Binding wise, so we chatted about this a little bit. There's one guy out there that's so sick of me talking about ultras, but I know Jess rides ultras too.
Too bad, go away then.
Yeah, so let's, exactly, thank you. Because, well, you tell us. I mean, I talk about this all day, but you tell us about the ultras.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. Okay, here's the thing. I got a really messed up ankle. Like, I'm talking end stage arthritis, and I didn't ride. Like, that's kind of why I started riding more powder, because that's what I could ride, like going over bumpy stuff. That's also why I wanted this board to be able to cut through that, because it just hurt so much. And I stopped riding the resort because when I was on the hard pack, I couldn't turn toe side. Riley sent me these bindings like a few years ago, and he was like, "Oh, these are these new things. You might think they look weird." And I looked at them. I'm like, I don't think they look weird at all, because they're simple and they're not. It's like they're just like they looked really minimalistic, but I didn't understand why. And I went on a street trip with the bomb hole just to kind of go along, because I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to ride. And I strapped in, and we went to some rope tow place, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do a run. And I was like, holy shit, I can turn on my toes. This is sweet. And I ended up filming the whole time, hitting all the spots, filming like street for the first time in like 5 years or something. And I was like, holy shit. And then I went back to the resort and was like, wow, I can ride resort. And I didn't even know what it was about them that made them so sick, but I asked Riley and the guys when I was in Italy, and it's like that bushing underneath that makes it feel like there's so much forgiveness, and it makes me be able to ride like a longer board that would normally feel like maybe too stiff or whatever, and just be able to really feel the board. And just like I don't know the technicality of it, besides I knew I could ride again the way that I wanted to and be able to walk the next day. So
No foot fatigue. It takes a lot of foot fatigue out. And it doesn't create a dead zone or like a stiff spot under our feet.
Yeah.
It's letting that board do its thing. So, no, that's rad. And I swear by that binding too. That's all I ride.
Yeah, same.
It's pretty awesome. Okay, so we also had a funny chat about boots. Jess and I have a similar thing here too. You know, we might as well talk about it. What boots do you ride?
I ride Nike boots still. I just pulled, the other day I just pulled a fresh pair out of a box.
How do you still have a fresh pair of Nike boots?
Okay, so I have like a notification set up on Facebook Marketplace. So for the word Vapin specifically.
Yeah.
If
Those were my favorite also.
Yeah, sweet. And I just got my first pair of kaijus ever because I could never find them in my size. I got size men's 5 boots, and for some way there was a pair in the Netherlands, the snowboard plug guy, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
He only sells Nike stuff. So I did an order last year and got a pair of kaijus. I thought they were kind of soft, but maybe it's because they're actually used. But most of the boots I get are still brand new in the box. Someone wore them once and was like, I don't like snowboarding or whatever. So
yeah, I have one Cashew as well. They are. It depends which era actually, but some of them were a little
I think
softer.
the ones I got were way too old.
Yeah.
They even had a
broke
funny
down.
shape. Yeah. But I was just like, I just want to try them because people are always talking about this boot. But honestly, like the Vapins are my favorite. I just have a stack. I have like one more in the box at home, but I just keep, whenever I see them, I'll buy them.
It's funny when you find a boot. Yeah, you'll stick with it. I've had this conversation with Robin Van Gien too. She has a specific boot that she just consistently buys now, and it's Nike Vapin for me as well. I found a couple boots recently that are getting close to that shape. I think it's the Footlast they did was unique to Nike, and it works with some of us, right? So I thought that was funny. I mean, maybe they'll make boots again. I highly doubt it. I think they their team was so expensive. They tried to hit a price point, and I just think it just kind of killed the program.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just knew that I loved the boots. And I mean, if I find something else that I like, I'll for sure ride it. But I just, like I said, it's my ankle. That's like the biggest breaking point for me. So I can't be feeling weird out there whatsoever.
No, I hear you. I hear you. So I touched on a little bit too of the next year's graphics, and Jess did post it on her gram, so we can kind of talk about it. I've always loved your graphics, but next year's really, I was just like, wow, this felt like, it just feels different. Can you get into that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it is different. I did want to go like a totally different direction. I feel like the past few years I've been so psycho busy that at the time that we're doing graphics that I haven't been able to really sit down and put all my input and go back and forth with F as much as I'd like to. And so we were able to do that with this next graphic. And I wanted to do something that I had just come off doing a line of North Face outerwear that was affordable and accessible, and it was like community-based kind of graphic, because that's, I feel like, what I'm more passionate about now. So I just wanted to make a graphic that really meant something.
And it is with Ephraim.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Ephraim can do anything.
I know.
Any style.
Yeah, that's, because this is also Ephraim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one, just bring it up now. I'm going to get Jess to sign this. So we will have one in the store that you will be able to purchase that will be signed by Jess. We'll make sure that gets on the website after this episode comes out.
Hope someone doesn't come in and they're like, why is there writing on this board?
I think anybody after this board is going to know.
Wait, you got to show the base, though. The base is
yeah.
my favorite part. Oh, wrong way.
Yeah, we got to get this correct here. There we go.
I love the base of this board. It's so rad. And it does remind me of Kazu. Biggest Kazu fan out there. I used all my courage when we were at the sales meeting in Italy to ask him to do a selfie with me.
Really?
Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome.
It was so funny, and as soon as I did it, it broke the ice, and so all the other pro dudes on our team
probably
were like,
everybody
"Can I get
wanted
one
to."
too?" Yeah, that guy's a legend. So
He really is. And with all Capitas, I mean, the base structure you get, it's like an added $120 value of base prep that comes with these snowboards that really nobody else does. It's pretty awesome. No, this board, like I say, I'm going to get Jess to sign this one for sure. So you have a busy season ahead of you. I know that. It's crazy. But can we talk a little bit about the Uninvited 2025? What's happening with that one?
definitely, yeah, the Uninvited is going off more than I can keep up, but I'm going to try.
Well, that's why I kind of call you the industry shakeup, because you did 12 years ago really shake things up, but then the Uninvited kind of gave everybody a new outlook on how an event could be. And we do Turning Men, we do events, and I definitely took cues from what you're doing for kind of the way we present. Like we needed that change. Things were stagnant, and I applaud you for that. It's freaking awesome. No, it's really, really cool. So for 2025.
Yeah, we have 4 events that we're doing. We have a test event in China just after Christmas.
No way.
And we kind of want to try to hit every continent eventually. Then we have one in Europe that we haven't completely locked our venues in yet, but the plan is to do test event in China. That's happening for sure. European Open with prize money this time instead of just free trips to the finals. Then the big finals in Utah. That's for sure happening. And then we're working on an Australia event too. So
wow.
Yeah.
So that'll make its way further into what would be our summer.
Yeah.
So you'll be year round.
Yeah, but that actually makes it less sketchy because then, like last year, I only rode 12 days. That's so sad.
Well, last year was a tough year on everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, the snow
was
weren't in the
shit.
backcountry much.
Yeah.
I mean,
I wasn't even here, so I didn't even know. I don't know where I was. But I did go to Japan, and
that seemed to be the best
that was my
stuff.
12 days.
Yeah, that was the best riding for sure. Who were you in Japan with?
With my hero, Marie Francois.
Oh, yeah, I did the footage. Yeah, I saw that footage.
Yeah, and then Kalia, who I was her. I'm making a documentary,
Really?
basically. Yeah, on this
We
concept
just met her last year. She's
Who, Kalia? Yeah, she's such a little nugget.
She's been on the show. She's awesome.
Oh, sick. Okay.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah, she's such a weird little artist.
I know.
Basically, I grew up absolutely idolizing Marie Francois, and would hit her up like a fucking loser on snowboard.com and be like, hey, you're my favorite.
Oh my God, snowboard.com.
Yeah, so she came to my first video premiere because I left a ticket at the box office for her, Ricky
rad.
Bobby or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's rad.
like he did for his dad, and she showed up, and I was like, she used to take her bindings off in the parking lot and give them to me so I could sell them and pay my rent, and she was at the very top, and I was like, I need to be like her if I ever get anywhere, and I didn't think I would, but then I did, and so now I'm trying to be like her, and that's kind of also why I do the Uninvited stuff.
That's awesome. That's super cool to know. Right on. I've got a lot of, I always make notes. I have a lot of notes when it comes to you. You always have great music in your movies. What are you listening to right now? What
am I listening to right now?
Are you throwing AirPods in when you're riding?
Not AirPods because I'm scared they'll fall out and I'll lose them in my something.
Yes.
I still like the corded headphones. When I'm in the backcountry, I didn't really understand the dangers of the backcountry at first because we were usually going in the spring and you never really hear about. There wasn't too much. Felt like there wasn't too much happening, and so I did used to listen to music when I was hitting stuff, and I got told you can't be listening to music because if we need to yell at you for something, and I was like, oh yeah, shit.
No, it's a resort thing only. Anytime I bring it up, it really is a resort. In controlled environments, sure, you can throw the headphones in, but I agree. It's guiding, anything like that. Your senses have to be on point at all times.
But yeah, I love listening to music at the resort or doing sessions or hiking stuff with my friends in the backyard. What I'm listening to right now, I was editing this summer to do kind of a sizzle reel to sell this documentary idea, and I got into this. It's like cinematic African choir music, kind of.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like The Lion King. I should show you the teaser that I made for this film because I sent it to this editor that I wanted to do it, and he's like, I think it's a sick idea. I want to do it, but I was waiting for you to lift Kalia up like a baby lion at the end because it sounds like the Lion King music. And so I got a whole playlist of that I've been running lately.
Okay, rad.
Yeah.
Well, that
Probably
stuff's,
not
it's thematic,
that's what you were
right?
looking
So
for.
it creates emotion, though.
Yes.
Like that, for film, that's really smart. We talked about Tor and the way he just scored his
That's
movie.
exactly what I want to be listening to. It's so good. I was so invested.
Torstein, you killed it. You know that. But
Yeah,
wow.
Torstein's
But
the man.
it creates emotion with what we're watching in a way that I was blown away by. So it's smart to make these moves. Film scoring is a big part of what we're trying to create to make the visual impact that much more. So I think
If
that's
something
cool.
doesn't have emotion, I don't care about it at all, or can't. That's
Good.
just that, and I think I sometimes go too far with that. Just an extra feeling person, but the Torstein's movie was yeah, I got to get the playlist for that soundtrack.
I know.
That's what I do.
Tori, you need to release that. You know that already. But Mark, how many times have we watched that movie now?
Too many.
I know. It was incredible. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so moving on now, we get a lot of questions. We have a lot of people on the message us about, well, how do I get sponsored? How do I do this? All that kind of stuff. So anyone that's aspiring to kind of follow in Jess Kimura's footsteps, what advice do you have for people like that? I know it's a lot about connections, and you know what your process was, but how can you give advice now to the younger generation, the kids that are trying to come up?
I think don't wait for people to come to you, go to them. And I don't mean go to them like I used to stalk Marie on snowboard.com, or maybe do that, it worked for me. But just be involved in the snowboard community, go to all the events and hang out, go help, get involved with setting stuff up and building and all sorts of things so that you can build those connections. And you'll find that even if you don't end up going anywhere in snowboarding, that was still super valuable. But I don't know, just don't give up and don't be afraid to look like a loser, because that's when a lot of people, their moment where they could break through or not in some way or another, they kind of lose it because they're worried. I don't know, my friend Dara says a good thing. She's like, I invite myself to everything. I just invite myself, even if I'm not invited. I will be there, And
awesome.
people are always like, Dara, go away. But I love Dara, and I love her approach, because she's just like, you know what? I want to be a part of this, and I'm going to be.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's really well said. No, that's awesome. All right, well, we're going to wrap up here because there's a snowstorm happening. Jess has got to get home. I want to make sure you get home safe, whether you make it to Vernon or Squamish. But yeah, it's early in the morning. We're going to get Jess to sign this Equalizer while I'm talking about sponsors. And yeah, as always, we're presented by the shop, Tribute Boardshop, Cole Headwear, and BALDFACE. Jess was just up at BALDFACE, and I heard it was pretty damn good, eh?
It was so good. They have so much snow up there right now.
All right, so as with always, we appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for hanging out with us. Hopefully we steal Jess again this winter and get her on. And yeah, signed Equalizer could be yours. We're going to have that up on the website this week.
Tried to integrate it into the graphic.
It looks great. Anything else in closing, Jess? Anything else you want to say?
No, that's it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for everything you do for snowboarding.
You're welcome. Thank you.
No worries. All right, guys, we'll see you on the next one.